Today is the day. We are putting this thing in the wagon finally. We got pretty much everything. Thanks. We got everything set up. So all that's left is to torque down the crank pulley in the front, so we can hold it in the crank still, so we can attach my flywheel and clutch and everything once we get it on the cherry picker, and then we're gonna drop it in. Alright, big moment. Engine is in. As you guys saw, it took a little finessing. I just kind of set the turbo on here to see, in this, to kind of see how it's going to sit. Haven't really hooked anything else up yet. We still need to, hook up all the wiring connections, all the sensor plugs. I got to put the motor mount bolts in. Finish tightening up some of the bell housing bolts. It's all tight right now, though. So once we get the motor kind of situated, the next thing is going to be hooking up these coilovers. These are the racelands I got for a GC8, which bolt directly into a first-gen Legacy. So I just kind of have this one sitting in here. It's none of it's adjusted or anything like that. I wanted to have the motor in, before we try to adjust the coilovers and all that, because the weight in the front's going to make a difference. So we just basically got this power steering all set up. I had to bend these lines a little bit to get it away from the up pipe. Power steering is all bolted on, alternators bolted on. I modified this piece to get those brackets that hold the spark plug wires off. Just broke those off. I also deleted all my cruise control and the rest of my AC stuff, which is over here, that I don't need anymore, obviously because the rest of it's gone. So that was, the line that went across the top and that big thing that stuck right there. So that's all gone. Right now I was just working on setting up the turbo and our intake. So I have to modify this. This will make more sense once we actually start setting up the intake, but I basically need to cut out a section right here so this could actually sit in there to help hold the pipe open for the pre-turbo intake. I also had to modify some stuff here on the turbo, so I got this really super high temp hose stuff for it's good, like 300 psi or something, for oil and everything. So that's gonna be my drain. This right here is the return for the coolant that goes through it, and I actually had to bend this more right here to actually clear the brackets that bolt the turbo on. For some reason it just runs right into it, so I just bent that around. I got a new banjo bolt that's M12 by 1.25, which is what this one is, the CX Racing turbo. So now I can basically, I got this cut to the right length, so I should be able to just slide the turbo on. I got a new up pipe gasket in place, and my drain's down there. I don't know if you can see that, but just slide that on. I have to go underneath and tighten the hose clamps. Alright, so we're gonna mess with the ECU a little bit. So this is my old ECU right here. We just pulled it out. I'm gonna need the housing part of it, because this is how the Robtune is when you get it. It's just kind of sitting here in a case, and so you need to use your other case to kind of put it together. And this is the other piece you need, which is the 4-to-2 ignition converter. So this is a 20G ECU, so it uses individual coil unplug style, so it has 4 ignition wires, 1 for each coil, and basically this converts that down into 2 that a US Legacy takes, which these 2, and then it has a power and ground. That's really all it does. So I just basically pin these into my existing wiring harness, or in my existing wiring harness connector for the ECU, so that goes in there. And then you just plug these two into your wires that go to your coil pack, which they're actually the same color, I believe, too. And then you give it power and ground from. He has a special location for that. But we're going to take this apart so we can sort of assemble the ECU so it can go in. So a little bit of a change of plans. The old ECU, which is this one, whoops, the bolts are soldered in there, as you can see, so I can't take this frame from it to reuse it to bolt the housing together. So what we did was we actually just stole a couple screws and bolted it in from the sides, and then we're just using duct tape to hold the backing plate on, which that should be plenty.
So this is half 20G case, and then this half is 22T because you need it to bolt to the car. But the part for these bolts that would hold this cover on are on that, which we can't use. So
yeah, that's these holes right here. So
there's probably a better solution than duct tape, but it works.
Yeah, it's not, the board isn't touching anything on the inside, and I'm not really sure what else we're supposed to do. So this is what everybody else does. So that's ready to go in the car. Alright, so another thing I want to talk to you guys about, something I just picked up. These are hub-centric rings that I've been needing for quite some time. So these go right here on your brake rotor to go around your hub. So it's basically a spacer for your wheel. So it actually centralizes the wheel when you press it on here. And so the first time you put them on, it's a little bit big, it looks like. So when I put the wheel on for the first time, it's going to press into the wheel and basically be stuck in there for as long as I need it. Or maybe the life of the wheel, I don't know. But the other thing I want to talk to you about was the suspension. So this is the old stuff that I'm going to be pulling out of here. These are the new coilovers. I'm new to coilovers. This is my first set of having them ever, but I mean, they're pretty simple. These came with the springs already preloaded and everything. So normally, if you were changing springs or doing something like that, you basically just loosen these lock rings and just set the preload. Usually, it's you kind of tighten this top one until the spring is like solid and it's not going to move. The tricky part is lining up this drain tube to actually go on the hole. Reach down here underneath. That was a pain, but I got it all tightened up there. It's like impossible to film down there, so I didn't even try. But I just got to put these up pipe bolts on. There's one in the back here. The turbo is on for the final time. It's officially a turbo motor. That's where it's going to sit for hopefully the rest of its life. Alright, so we just got the rest of the coilovers put on. As you saw, we got the radiator in. Coolant hoses are all hooked up. Working on getting the oil feed and all this stuff set up for the turbo. So this is all tight, but this the feed line that goes onto the back of the head back there is not tight, and I need a ratcheting 19mm to get that on there. So you can see the coilovers are in here. Oh, nice and pretty. We didn't set any of the height or anything. So right now, as you can see, they're really, really low. So I'm going to have to adjust them and raise them up higher. That's just way too low. So I still need to wire my oil pressure through the dash. So I have that fitting down there on the back of the head for my glow shift oil pressure gauge, because I want to keep an eye on oil pressure on this thing, obviously. So still need to do that along with the ECU wiring and stuff like that. I just got my boost controller stuff set up in this F pipe here. So this is the crankcase. You can see how tight this stuff is. It's ridiculous, but I got the F pipe sitting right here. Hose clamps are tight, so the PCV goes to there, and this will go to my catch can. I got my boost control set up, so basically it goes into here. T's right there. And then it goes to the boost controller right here, which is turned all the way down. I'm pretty sure I have this hooked up correctly, I think. Alright, so it's the next day. I've just been fiddling around with some of this intake stuff. So I got this sort of on here the way it's going to go. I got my Apexi intake right here with the green label MAF that you need for the Robtune. So I'm just kind of mocking this stuff up here. So it's essentially going to be a little bit like that. Obviously it's sitting up too high, so it looks kind of weird. But I also just quickly threw my starter back in, hooked up my heater core lines, and I also, I don't know if you can see this wire right here, I plugged in my oil pressure gauge, so that's right there. That goes into the clutch cable hole that I'm not using, obviously, because I'm hydraulic. So, let me grab my flashlight's dead, but this is my, alright, so I decided to mount it. Not really going to keep it here, probably forever, but for now, you know, it works. Might get shit on it, but I just need to know, you know, how much oil pressure I'm running. So I already got that wired into the, I just used the power and ground from the cigarette lighter light that's in there, so that was really easy. Just hook that up. The rest of the turbo stuff's done, except for I need a wrench for that drain, or I mean a feed hose that bolts onto the back of the head. I don't have a ratcheting 19mm to be able to get in there, and I didn't tighten it. Stupid me before I put the turbo on, and it's such a pain to get on and off because this thing is massive that it's really not worth it. So, alright, so if you guys have watched our previous videos, you know a little bit about this already, but this is the main connector right here that you need to tap into to wire up this ignition converter that you get with the EJ20G ECU. It basically converts it to coil unplug on this side to a way spark system on the other. We only have two, so 4 to 2 converter. So as you can see, I just pulled this little, you pulled the tabs off the sides, and you can see in there there's 2 empty pins right there, and then the green and yellow right here next to it are the existing 2 right here. So all we really need to do is you pop this cover off, then you need like a bobby pin, or not a bobby pin, a safety pin or something, and you stick it in there and de-pin these 2 wires right here, and then we're going to slide these 4 in its place. Just make sure to go in the right order. I don't think it matters which one of these go which, as long as they're in the right order, which is this, you know, it goes yellow green, so then you go yellow green across there, and then you basically chop those 2 off and wire in these 2 on the back, and then it has power and ground. That's pretty much all there is to it. He has some recommended power and grounds that you can use. You don't have to use the ones he suggests, but it makes it a lot cleaner. So I'm gonna follow his instructions that he has online, and just put that in there, and then you just basically close this back up and put in the ECU, and you're done. Did want to show you guys this thing that I got overnight from Japan. So this is my new steering wheel. This is a BD5 Legacy, like the twin turbo model, from Japan only. Came with this steering wheel. I got this off eBay. I'm super happy with this. It was like 140 bucks plus shipping, and it's in like mint condition. Like all the leather and everything is perfect. So I've been wanting to get rid of that steering wheel for such a long time. I'm really excited to get this guy in there. I had my eye on the Nardi version of this wheel, which is the same wheel, except it just has a Nardi horn and emblem in the center, which, you know, been on a lot of different cars. But this is basically the same wheel, and it was $100 cheaper. And all the ones that were available for more money, had like terrible leather all around here, and it was just all chewed up. So super happy to get that, but the issue I'm running into is to get this steering wheel off. There's these hex bolts that you need to unbolt the airbag. I started fitting up my intake. So this is the Apexi intake. It goes on here. So I used some of my old hosing, and I started setting up the catch can. So I got the valve covers T together right here. Go in there. This one right here is what goes back into the intake. I got little fittings for that, and I just tighten that up. So this one's going to be for the blow-off valve. This one right here from the F-pipe needs to connect to this one on the catch can. This one is going to get blocked off, and this one got blocked off. So all that's really left to do now is I need to run the coolant hose. I'm going to run it down here by the transmission, go up around the other side to my coolant tank over there. And I still need to do the wiring for this, but alright, so I'm just going to wire in my MSD Coilpack. We've gone over this before and how to do this, but I figure I'd just do it again since I'm already doing it. So you need this connector from a Dodge Neon, and basically all you got to do is wire up these colors to the opposing ones on the Subaru. So the first thing I'm going to do is do the yellow wire here. So I already cut my wires. So the yellow one right here goes to this blue one. Mine isn't really that blue anymore, but blue with a white stripe. So it's going to go to that one. And then the blue one on here is going to go to this black one right here. And then the green one goes to the red one, obviously. So that's pretty much it. It works. So I just finished crimping that, and I put some heat shrink on it. It doesn't look too bad. And I just realized I'm an idiot, and I should have kept this connector on the car, on the body harness, and cut the connector off my old Coilpack. And then I would have actually extended my wires a little bit longer, and this part would have been disconnectable and, you know, a lot easier to work on instead of tucking it down here by the turbo. So if you guys are doing it at home, just ruin your old Coilpack and leave this connector on your car and do the same exact colors, and it'll work. Alright, so I've been working away at this. I got my downpipe back from the exhaust shop. It's all welded up now, so I just got this bolted in. I have to tighten up these bolts. O2 sensors are in. The whole intake and everything's all finalized. I put some heat shrink stuff or heat wrap on that. We also worked on the inside. I got this piece of crap steering wheel out of there finally. We had a hell of a time trying to get those bolts out. And also I started, attaching this one. Alright, so we got intercooler all in here permanently. I just need to put some hose clamps on here and like the blow-off valve. Because I have this, it runs under there. And it comes underneath the throttle body and goes in right there. And then I just need to connect this right there for the PCV stuff. And then there's two wires that I didn't connect before I put the ECU up in the back up in where it goes. Those two wires there. So I need to just connect those to power and ground, which I might just run them to the battery just to see if it starts. Let off the key. So I know what we did wrong. I missed a bunch of steps. You really got to take your time when you're installing one of these 20G ECUs, because I totally just forgot about a bunch of the steps for it. So what we need to do is we need to ground the map sensor. That's why I'm getting a map sensor code. So obviously the freaking engine won't start because the ground doesn't go into the map sensor. So what you need to do is I pulled the ECU back out. This is connector B48. The pin in B48.5, which is the fifth, this red one right here, which like these empty ones on the side here, it starts with, this is 1 and then that's like 22, and so 3, 4, and then 5 is this red one right here. So you need to de-pin this one. This is the map sensor ground, but on the 20G ECU, this is actually like an EGT temp sensor thing that's not used. Really, it doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt anything not to have it. I mean, nobody has it. So all I need to do is take this one and merge it with 22, which is this other wire right here, this other red and with red wire with a black stripe. So this is basically just a main ground. So by connecting this one, like depinning it out of the connector like that, I'll probably cut the end off, and then when you just need to merge it into this one, it'll give, this is like where a lot of the sensors get their ground, is through that. So that'll just basically give that sensor ground. And there's a few other things we need to do. I need to actually hook up the power to these properly for the ignition converter. There's a few other things, like there's a California plug thing you need to undo. Let me see if I can pull up the diagram here. Yeah, so this is the link that's going to be in the description. So there's a purge valve, or purge control valve solenoid, which is F47.6. I don't think we actually did anything with this because it's not used in the 20G ECU, so I'm not sure how necessary it really is to remove it from the ECU. It doesn't go anywhere, so I'm not sure what the issue is there. There's a California pin, which is B5611, the green and black wire. You just need to remove that. So these are just wires you need to depin from the connectors and get rid of. In the green section is what you need to depin and merge with another, which is the map sensor. So B48.5, which is that wire right there that I pulled out. We need to merge that. Oh, it's B4821. That's the one. That's that red one right there. So that's the one we need to merge together. Other than that, it's just you just need the ignition stuff, which is right here, and I need to find the right pins to do that, where you're supposed to give those power and ground. I mean, switched power is really all you need in a ground. So you can get away, with doing it other ways. Forrest ran his off the battery for a while, but he has a nice, clean way to do it. So that's what I'm going to try to follow. So this is F47.6, this white one right here. It's the sixth one over on the button side. That's the button side's like the top, and then so it starts over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way through 12. I think it's 12, but yeah. So this white one right here, right next to the ignition wires that I put in, those are that's the purge control valve solenoid. So I just need to pull that one out and discard it. That's the other one you have to delete out for. So I got the wire out, but you really got to be careful that these ignition wires, the yellow green right here, are actually pushed all the way in, because when I pulled this ECU out for the second time, I guess the clips weren't in very well and some of these got pulled out. So you really got to be careful if you're taking your ECU in and out multiple times that these don't come out, because I mean the clips just aren't as good as OEM, obviously. I mean, nothing's good as OEM, so that should be good. So I'm going to buckle that back up, and this one's done. So I just need to tape this up because that's deleted. This one's deleted. Those are the two you got to delete. And I just need to work on the power stuff. Okay, so as you can see, I merged that one I cut off to this red one with a black stripe. I had to use a barrel connector because my other type of connectors went missing. So I'm just going to leave it like that. Probably put some electrical tape on it, but it's just a ground. So that should be it for that. So now it's just the last two, which is the wiring for these, which I got to look up real quick. Alright, so I just threw the ECU back up in there. We got all the rest of the wiring done. So I just got my power running to this wire right here, and the ground running to the one over here in the corner. There'll be wiring diagrams and exactly which pins go where, and the link in the description from Legacy BBS. So now let's plug it all back in and let's see if it starts. It's got 90 psi of oil pressure. so everything's working great. It actually sounds really good. It's almost already up to operating temp. We got the tie rods and everything kind of situated. We need to go, first thing is to take it to get in alignment, but air fuels are perfect. She's warming up nicely. The oil pressure is, going down like it should. As it warms up, it's about 60 psi now. Plenty of vacuum, as you guys can see. And damn, it sounds awesome. Those 2.5D cams, actually, you can hear the lope on it. But it starts. It works. After all that, put my very first short block together ever, and it fucking works. So I'm really, really pumped right now. So I'm gonna end this video here. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys have some questions, you can post them in the comments. Obviously, all the links to the wiring stuff is going to be in the description. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.